After more than 3 decades, Houston police say one of the city's most notorious unsolved mysteries has been solved. Cheryl Henry and Andy Atkinson were brutally murdered back in 1990. Andy's body was found tied to a tree in a remote area off Enclave Parkway in West Houston. He'd been stabbed and nearly decapitated. Golf balls and clubs taken from the trunk of his car pointed to Cheryl's body, which was partially covered with boards. Investigators say she'd been sexually assaulted, then stabbed to death.
And now 64-year-old Floyd Perot is charged with 2 counts of capital murder. The case is known as the Lovers Lane murders. Thank you for joining us. I'm Cheryl Mercedes.
And I'm Marcelino Benito. This morning, investigators and others connected to this case are speaking publicly for the very first time. They're providing an update in a matter of minutes at the Harris County Criminal Justice Center. Let's go ahead and listen in.
This case with him for the rest of his career. I've now read every page of almost 1,000 pages of offense reports. He has hundreds of supplements. He chased every lead possible. And when he retired, he said it was the case that stayed with him. Having him be here today speaks to how important this case is. So thank you. The next 4 that I want to recognize, I'm going to kind of do all together because Sergeant Mike Burrow, Sergeant Rich Rodriguez, Special Agent John Shemp, and my Assistant District Attorney, Division Chief Samantha Connect, they got this case to today. They worked tirelessly, hours on hours. 3 of them literally just got off airplanes from Nebraska hours ago. I don't know how y'all look as fresh as you do, but I'm very glad that you're here. And our office, Samantha, was here until well after midnight, the night after the arrest, and has worked this case herself for more than a decade. It goes to show the collaboration that everyone locally knows we have between our federal partners, our local police departments, and this office. We truly are one team. And from the bottom of my heart, as a citizen of Harris County, thank you all for what you do. We are also joined by Shane Henry. Shane is the younger sister of Cheryl. No one has dealt with this tragedy longer or more significantly than Shane. The Atkinson family is out of state. They couldn't be here in person, but I know that they are here with us, and they will continue to be with us throughout. We're going to hear from Shane a little bit later, but to you and to the Atkinson family and to everyone that loved them, it gives me so much pride, so much joy to be able to say, we got him. These unsolved have weighed so incredibly heavy on these families and our communities for more than 3 decades. That stops today. That stops now. Floyd William Parrott was arrested in Lincoln, Nebraska, Wednesday evening and charged with capital murder in connection to the murders of Cheryl Henry and Andy Atkinson. We are currently in the process of extraditing him back to Texas so that he can answer for these incredible crimes. I want to be extremely clear with the public and most importantly with the families. This is an incredible milestone, but this is not the finish line. For the investigators and the prosecutors across agencies and decades who never gave up on Cheryl and Andy, who spent 36 years tracking leads, facing dead ends, the frustrations, the emotions that you all have had to deal with. A monumental chapter has been closed. But the work cannot and will not stop now. And in a lot of ways, the work for the DA's office starts today. We are moving from the identification and investigation phase of this case into the prosecution phase. Justice delayed is justice denied. I know that you all have been desperate for answers for 36 years. I know that Garland Atkinson did not get to live to see this day. I know that your parents could not be here to see this day, and countless others that loved Cheryl and Andy aren't here. And it's because this justice has been delayed. For 36 years, you've missed birthdays, anniversaries, holidays, never knowing if today would ever come. We can't give Cheryl and Andy back to you. We'll never know the people that they could have become. But to you, Shane, to all of you, what we can promise you is that we will deliver the truth. And we will deliver justice in a courtroom to this defendant. Today, we bring you and so many other families out there hope. And tomorrow, we get back to work. I'm going to introduce our mayor, Mayor John Whitmer.
Thank you. Thank you, District Attorney Sean. When I say let's go to work, this is what we're talking about. The collaboration that brings this accountability to our region, not only the city of Houston, but Harris County and the state of Texas, with the incredible work of professional crime fighters, whether it be the FBI, certainly HPD, the District Attorney's Office. I see Crime Stoppers present. We're all in this together. And we're not only into crime prevention, but we're into solving crime. So today sends a strong message that all hands on deck. District Attorney is working around the clock with his staff. HPD, I can't say enough about the dedication, hours away from their family, missing Little League games, even a retiree. John, thank you for your work. Can't say enough about the FBI. You know, people sometimes wonder what's going on after 5 o'clock. Crime fighting's taking place, and we do it for the victims, their families, and also to reassure the public that we're dedicated crime fighters. It should be, and I know I speak for the professionals in this room, our highest priority. I spend a lot of time at the city working on quality of life issues like streets and drainage, but if we're not safe, the district attorney and I have shared this vision. If we're not safe, nothing else matters. So today, as Sean mentioned, this is a giant step forward. And I wanted to reassure the public that we're not only preventing crime, we're building up our resources, our cadet classes. HPD has over 5,400 officers now, 400 sworn in during my administration. So we're doing everything possible. But also we need the public assistance. If you know something about this specific case, step forward. If you can help us prevent the next crime, step forward. So I'm just here to spread the word that all hands on deck. Our community's getting safer, but we still have a lot of work to do. So let's go to work.
And now I'm going to introduce the lieutenant over our cold case sergeants and detectives, Amanda Zimmerman.
Good morning. I have the honor of leading the HPD Homicide Division's Cold Case Unit. I'd like to begin by acknowledging the profound impact this heartbreaking case has had on our community. My prayers are with the families of the victims. Their loved ones tragically had their lives taken from them so long ago. I'll provide some details about the investigation. However, this is still an active case and I can't disclose every detail. So please understand that. From the beginning, the HPD homicide detectives poured unwavering effort into the investigation. Throughout the years, multiple HPD homicide detectives continue to reevaluate the details of this investigation in partnership with the Harris County District Attorney's Office, the Federal Bureau of Investigation, and the Office of the Attorney General of Texas Cold Case and Missing Persons Unit. Upwards of 100 persons of interest were examined over time, and forensic advancements were applied. As we continuously renew our focus on cold cases, we assigned highly experienced detectives who brought fresh perspectives and specialized forensic expertise to this investigation. Through my detective's reassessment of the case, he was able to garner more information utilizing forensics, which ultimately led to the identification of the suspect. The depth, continuity of resources, and dedication provided to this investigation were instrumental in ultimately leading us in the right direction. While we are grateful to have brought justice in this case, as it's been said before me, our work still continues. The same commitment remains for every unsolved homicide case in our community, and your voice makes it possible. If you have any information about this case or any other case, please contact the Homicide Division at 713-308-3600 or Crime Stoppers at 713-222-TIPS. Thank you.
And so now we're going to hear from the person who probably does not want to speak the most here, but she's going to. Samantha Connect is our division chief over major offenders, and she single-handedly started our cold case unit. She has, I'll tell a brief story. When I was a line prosecutor, I walked into her office in about 2017, and she had this case spread out on her desk. And I asked her, and she kind of updated me on what she was doing with it, and Sam is not a very emotional person. She was both excited and sad as she's walking me through this in 2017. And it just goes to show how many people dealt with the ups and downs of this investigation, because in 2017, they were excited, thinking they were about to have a suspect, and watching firsthand what Sam has gone through over the last decade. I am very excited to bring her up and have her speak about this.
Good morning. My name is Samantha Connect, and I have the privilege of running the Cold Case Division of the Harris County District Attorney's Office. Like Sean said, I've been with the office for almost 20 years now, and the last 10 years of my career I have spent working on this case. But I didn't work on it alone. I worked on it with Special Agent John Shemp, who was a huge asset to this case, and the FBI, and then along with HPD homicide detectives Sergeant Burrow, and Sergeant Richards. And together I felt like we formed a great team, and we all had a mission, and that was to see this day. The best phone call of my career was Wednesday night when I got the opportunity to call the family members on this case and let them know that we had arrested someone for this. It was the privilege and highlight of my career. And I hope that it's not over. We really encourage people to come forward. This is a press conference about public safety. We want to know if you have tips or information on this case to please call us and let us know, because we want to continue to work this case. And it's our job now, along with Lauren Bard, the prosecutor that's also been working on this case with me, to bring justice to this family. And then going forward, as the division chief of the cold case unit, there are other cases and other families out there. And like Sean said, I hope that this brings you hope. And just know that there are people that are working in their offices after hours and on weekends when you don't necessarily know it, but we're working in the background so that we can have moments like this. So I thank you all for being here today, and I thank you for the support both from HPD and the FBI on this case.
And so now you've heard the technical parts. I think it is so important to hear from someone who has dealt with this case longer than any of us. Shane, will you come share a few words?
Hello, how is everybody? Just wrote something so I wouldn't forget. Cheryl was, sorry. Hold on. Cheryl was my best friend. We did everything together. They used to call me Little Cheryl because I'd follow her everywhere. She just had the most amazing laugh and smile, and just so beautiful, and such a wonderful life ahead of her. Until now, until that day, but I just want to let you know a little bit something about Cheryl. Today is the day we waited for with a heavy heart. Our sister was taken from our family in a way that no one should ever experience. She was more than a victim in a headline. She was a daughter, a sister, a friend, and a person who brought much love and light into our eyes. Hearing that the person responsible has finally been caught doesn't bring her back, and it doesn't erase the pain our family has lived with all these years, but it does bring a sense of relief knowing that justice is moving forward, and that this person cannot hurt another person again. We want to thank the detectives, the FBI, the DA's office, and for everyone who worked tirelessly on this case. The dedication means more to our family than words can express. To everyone who supported us, shared information, and kept our sister's memory alive, honor her life every single day. Thank you.
Thank you. Before we go to questions and before we pivot to the public safety part of this press conference, I do want to invite Special Agent Soyas up to give a few words.
Good morning. My name is Chris Soyes. I'm the Assistant Special Agent in charge at the FBI here in Houston. On behalf of the FBI, I want to first start off by saying to the family and friends of the victims, we offer our deepest condolences. We know you've waited more than 3 decades for this day. I think what we want you to know is that this law enforcement community never gave up on this case and has been pursuing this case for years. I just want to say that the law enforcement, Partnerships in this city are like no other, and it's this case is a testament to that. We work side by side with the HPD and D's office for a year in this case. For over a decade, the FBI has brought all of our resources to bear on this case, to include our behavioral analysis unit, our forensic lab in Quantico, and dozens of interviews alongside HPD. When this subject was identified, we immediately worked closely with our FBI office in Omaha, which covers the Lincoln, Nebraska, and we got a tremendous amount of support there to the point where we were able to travel there just this week to effect the arrest. I really want to thank everybody here who's contributed to this case. We know for the families of the victims, justice has been long delayed. But this case has never been forgotten, and we will continue to pursue justice on your behalf. Thank you to everybody in this room, and I appreciate you for inviting us here today, sir. Thank you.
So those of you that are local know that my office and this administration are not clickbait, put up mugshots of people that have been charged. We choose to uplift survivors and victims and not shame people that are accused of crimes before they're convicted. So you don't see our social media feeds, you don't see our press releases having mugshots and things of that nature. This case is different. And so today we are going to release pictures of Floyd Parrott from 1990. We are doing that because we truly believe there are more victims out there. We believe that there are more people in the city of Houston and the surrounding areas who have had interactions with this person. Cheryl and Andy have had their pictures plastered for 36 years, everywhere, internationally. But this is the first time as a law enforcement community that we get to ask the public about this guy. If you met him once, if you met him at a club, if you knew him at all, reach out. Let us know. Because over the next months, we are going to get a complete picture of what this individual was doing in our community for decades. We have information that he was holding himself out to be law enforcement for years. You all have already reported on his criminal history. There's no reason for us to go into that. But he has been identified as someone that falsely held himself out in the late 80s, all through the 1990s, all through the 2000s, in different cars, in different ways as law enforcement. If you recognize this individual and he pulled you over, even if you were doing something that back in the 1990s you weren't very proud of, call us. I personally need to know exactly what this individual was doing. We believe that there are victims of numerous different types of crimes that are still living with it right now. We need to know the full picture of what Floyd William Parrott was doing in our community. Today, we're also releasing a picture of the car that he was driving in May of 1990. This is months before these two vibrant, beautiful young people were taken from us. If this car springs some memory, if you recognize anything about this, call us. Our entire job right now is to paint a complete picture of Floyd William Parrott so that we can determine and eventually let a jury of Harris County, Texas residents determine what should happen. And with that, I'll open this up to questions.
Can somebody go through the timeline in the last couple of years of how you guys were able to break open the case? I think most of us have read the charging documents, and we just needed some clarification of when did you guys get the name and matched up with the various DNA evidence.
And so we're not going to get into today the technical aspects of time frame. That's not the point of this press conference. We will eventually have to lay that out. The most important thing going forward is that we maintain the integrity of this case so that 12 people from our community can eventually render a verdict without it being any more polluted than it is. So we're not going to get into the timeline of the investigation today, other than what is already public in the charging documents.
But in 2008, when the incident came out with the 1990 sex assault, there was a DNA match with what happened in this case. That DNA is indeed his profile. You just didn't have his name back in 2008. Is that correct?
That's correct.
When did you guys get it?
We got his name in very, very shortly before we effected the arrest. As you can imagine, once you get a tentative match, there were a number of other forensic steps. So it wasn't the day that we did it, but we got it in fairly short order before we began putting all of the things in place so that we could be sure to not only effect the arrest safely for everyone involved, but to then progress forward. We've got to do a lot of different things even now. I mean, we've got to get a governor's warrant to extradite him back. That's something that we're processing as we speak. There are a number of things that we had to get in line before we could effect the arrest, but it was in pretty short order before we effected the arrest that we had his name definitively tied to those two profiles.
Who was like the tipster? Not naming him, but like how did that all come about?
That's something that we're not going to get into today.
Did anyone receive a reward for the tip? Was there a reward offered?
There have been rewards, to my knowledge. No one has received a reward to this day, and whether or not that's going to happen, I don't know the answer to that.
Just to follow up on Maya's line of questioning. So was this an issue of like advancements in DNA technology, or was this a matter of more so fresh eyes, Sergeant Burrow looking at the file and seeing that there was this possible name and that 1996 case that had his DNA connected to it?
It was a grouping of all of that. I think certainly getting Mike on this case and having fresh eyes to sift through, as I said, probably 1,000 pages of incident reports and things like that, hastened our ability to get there. But with the help of Special Agent Shemp and the FBI, there were a number of avenues that we were already going down that got us closer to that point. But I don't think we're here today in March of 2026 without Sergeant Burrow really combing through this with a fresh set of eyes.
You mentioned hundreds of people might have been interviewed during this case. Someone said that he was not one of those people. Is that correct?
To my reading, we did not interact with him at all through the, it truly was hundreds of people interviewed, at least 100 people looked at as potential suspects. He was not one of them.
Why, can you posit why he was in Nebraska? Was he there because he was trying to avoid justice? Or is there another, how long had he been there?
To our understanding, he had been there not as an immediate flight. He had been there a number of months, potentially a number of years, not many years, but it was not something that was an immediate flight. So we're going through all of that right now to really nail it down, but we don't have definitive time that he moved up there.
So the case file, I just want to clarify on the case file situation when I talked about the name. You went through, you said 1,000 pages of case file. His name was not in any of it, and you guys were all working toward presumably getting to his name eventually, but it was really the tipster that kind of sped everything along after 36 years. Is that sort of what you're getting at, but you won't talk to us more about tipster?
Yeah, I would certainly say that sped along what eventually we believe would have come about anyway. But yes, that was something that narrowed the field.
And did the tip come in like in 2026, or is it like?
We're not going to go into when we got different things on the timeline.
But within the last few months?
We're not going to go into when we got it, but thank you. Yes, ma'am.
So are you, because you're showing us these photos of the cop cars, do you think that he was impersonating a cop when he committed these crimes and potentially other crimes in our area?
That is exactly what we believe as to other crimes. The DNA that we have to indicate at least one of the sexual assaults, there is even back then an indication that he held himself out in some way as law enforcement. So speculating as to what he was doing that night is not something that we're going to do here in this press conference, but we know for a fact that he was holding himself out to be law enforcement on numerous occasions, both before and after these murders. And so that is why we are showing these. That is why we're talking about this, because the way that we believe many more victims were victimized was based on the fact that we believe he was holding himself out to be law enforcement.
Presumably he's going to be back in Nebraska within days, weeks. Are you guys going to seek an 11 hearing to keep him in custody in Harris County?
So in a capital case like this, we have a number of avenues. We have what's called a proof evident hearing, or in current, the new 11D. We're going to work with our trial team to determine which of those avenues we're going to do. But to the community as a whole, we are going to do everything in our power to ensure that this individual does not get out of custody before he faces a jury of his peers. So,
Sorry.
no, go ahead.
In the 1996 case where he was identified as the suspect and there was DNA connected to him, is it true that he was no-billed, or what happened with that?
That's what happened in that case. So it was apparently presented to a grand jury, and they declined to return an indictment, which, as anyone that follows crime knows, that effectively ends the prosecution of the case. And so that's what happened in the 96 case, which is different than any of the other cases we were dealing with, because it was an unknown identity in those, whereas there was a known identity in that case.
For anyone who recognizes this car or recognizes the images of him from the 90s, you say that you want to hear from them? Who
Yes.
are you reaching out to?
It's almost like we worked together on this question. This is the number that we would advise the public to call. Samantha, our investigators, Lauren, we want to speak to every one of you. Lieutenant Zimmerman gave you two other avenues that call 222 TIPS, call HPD homicide, call this number. Trust me when I tell you, we all work together extraordinarily collaboratively. You're going to get to someone that understands and knows about this case. But the two people standing right there, and I don't know if they know this yet myself, we are going to be the three people that try this case. So at the end of the day, we are going to be the people that need to speak to you and really vet it. So please call HPD homicide, please call Crime Stoppers to give the tip, but understand that they are going to eventually funnel to this number because we're going to be the ones that have to talk to you going forward on this.
There was a lot of talk in the 90s about also people not acting alone because it was such a vicious crime
Right.
involved. Are you guys still now believe that you operate alone, there's not other people involved, or where you are on that?
We are not closing any doors. We're not. We think that by identifying this defendant, more things are going to come out. I think that the hypotheses that were out there about more than one perpetrator, the physical evidence still says that that's a possibility. So we're not closing the door on anything. We are certain that this defendant participated in these murders. That's what we know for sure.
And did you think that you might have come across Cheryl and Andy during the course of their daily lives, or was this like completely random? Any of those hypotheses that's been out there?
And those are the things that we're actively going to seek the help of the public because, as I said, I believe that there are more victims out there. And as we are able to identify more victims, it's going to be easier to identify a common thread of behavior that this defendant was engaged in. So right now, it would be speculation. But by the time we go to trial, we're going to have a better idea.
Kind of a technical question. How large are the cold case units that were involved here? How many people in the DA's office and the police department?
Who wants to jump in and take that? Come on, guys.
So the cold case division of the Harris County District Attorney's Office is pretty small. It's me and one other prosecutor right now. But we're hoping that we can continue to grow it and add more prosecutors, hint, hint, so.
And I have a sergeant and 4 officers, but we are also bolstering our unit with more detectives.
I was wondering if this also saying we have a lot of old footage of you talking about this case from the 90s. I was wondering if you care to share your thoughts.
Yeah, of course.
This is a good day. I want to thank you guys because y'all kept it alive for 36 years, almost. Shane, I kept telling you, this case will clear. I know it's hard to have patience after almost 36 years, but it cleared. Because we had DNA. And back in 1990, that was an exciting new technology. I had been involved in a case in 1987, the first prosecution here in Harris County involving DNA evidence. And so I knew that was the link, even though I probably terrorized every one of Cheryl and Andy's friends from here to North Carolina with my investigation. Literally, I myself, I looked at over 36 potential suspects. At one point, not Chief Diaz, but other chiefs were like, we don't have that kind of money to spend on more testing of DNA. You have to give me more than just, I want to test this guy. And so I am excited. I worked this case for 17 years, and then in retirement, I've kept connected with John Shemp and the Houston Police Department, the DA's office. I do volunteer work for the Texas Attorney General's office with cold case and missing persons. So I convinced them, let's add a little funding to the DNA to test these cases on Lover's Lane. It's a happy day for me. And so that's all I'm going to say. Did you have something you wanted?
I was looking for your reaction.
Oh.
You haven't really talked about it since retirement, right?
No, I haven't. You know, because you called me a couple of times, so I wouldn't talk to you.
When did you hear that it was going to be, that this day was coming, and what were your thoughts?
Wednesday, a week ago, I was in the dentist chair, and I got a phone call from Samantha. And, of course, I didn't answer it because they were hands in my mouth, and they were working on my cleaning my teeth. And so it went to voicemail, and then when I stepped out of the dentist's office, I checked the voicemail message, and Samantha said, hey, Billy, can you give me a call? It's about the Lover's Lane case. And so when I called her, the first thing she said was, "You're at home? Can I come out to your house?" And I like, ding, 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 this is a good call. And so I told her, I'll come to your office. I'll be there at 12:15. So I've been excited for the last 9 days now, 10 days. It's a good day. And the one I want to recognize more than anybody is Mike Burrows. The new, he's, I hope I'm not saying anything, but he's had this case since January. And it was through his, I've probably read the case 20 times, my part of the investigation. Of course, I retired in 2009. I know Samantha read it at least 10 times. And I don't know, once or twice, but it's a big case, a lot to read. And he found something and pursued it. And so I'm probably shouldn't have recognized him, but I'm gratified for his work, his hard work.
Two last questions for me. Just for clarification purposes, is this guy's last name Parrott or Perro?
We've been saying Parrott.
And then the other question is, what do we know about him? Was he living with family, a wife? Does he have kids? Like, what do we know about this guy?
We know some. We know that for the vast majority of his life, he was in this area. We know that he has been married a number of times. He's got some number of children. We know that he left Houston, the Houston area, less than 2 years ago. So that it's one of the reasons that we feel really confident in saying that he's been preying on this community for a long, long time. And there are people out there that are watching this who have been victims or who know him. And I don't know if I stressed it enough before. You don't necessarily have to have been a victim of this individual to contact us. We want to hear from you if you have any information. If you were a coworker of his anywhere that he may have worked. So we know some, but nothing close to what we intend to know in pretty short order. A lot of that by enlisting the help of the community through our media partners.
I'm sorry about that. I've seen some records that show he might have been a record driver or a private investigator. What can you say about what jobs he's done?
So we do have some information that he worked as a manager and or bouncer at different clubs, both topless clubs or regular nightclubs. We have some information that he was doing and working at auto parts stores in the late 80s. We have some information that he was at least affiliated with a wrecker at some point. So those are the type of places where people might have encountered him. But again, that's not the sum total. So wherever, if this person looks familiar, reach out.
Can you share a little insight on how the arrest went down? And, I mean, was he surprised? Was he alone? Did SWAT have to go?
What do you want to? Yeah, come on, Mike. I know everybody wanted to hear from Mike anyway.
As far as the arrest, we had FBI assistance with that, obviously. Sergeant Rodriguez and myself don't have arrest powers in Nebraska, so they helped us out a lot in many numerous ways, including searches of properties up there and things like that, and providing us a facility to try and interview the suspect. It was a SWAT team arrest. FBI SWAT team arrested Mr. Parrott after keeping him under surveillance for a period of time, and when he came out of his apartment, they approached him and took him down.
Have you said anything to y'all? Denying anything?
Yeah, we're not gonna talk about whether or not even the defendant gave a statement. Those are things that we're gonna wait for, the case to matriculate through the courts.
When do you expect him back?
So he has exercised his rights to challenge extradition. That's something that happens every day around the country. And so the process that we are going through now is we're obtaining what's called a governor's warrant. We are going to have that finished with my signature on it today. The just technical nuts and bolts of that is it then goes to the governor of Texas, who will sign it. We don't anticipate any issues on either side, but once the governor of Texas signs it, he sends it to the governor of Nebraska, who reviews it, signs it, and then sends it to the sheriff of the county in Lincoln, at which point we will transport him back. We are, because of the nature of this case, because of how many additional things we've got to do investigatively, we're really trying to push this one through quicker. Typically, when we do governor's warrants, and we do governor's warrants every week, it's about a 45 to 60 day kind of process from beginning to end. Our goal is to make that shorter. But we don't envision any problems. So I would anticipate him being back in Harris County inside of 45 days.
And one clarification, I know you said the statement, you couldn't talk about what he provided in the statement. I believe the records say that he denied knowing Ms. Henry during his interview after being arrested. Is that true?
So he did deny that, but that's as far as we're going to get into the statement. Okay. Hey, thank you all so much for coming, and we'll see you at the next one.